Hey guys, welcome to the third of 4 videos about the assembly of my Prusa i3 Mark III. In these videos you can follow the complete build of my Prusa Mark III. I added timestamps according to the Prusa manual in the description, so you can look for a specific part of the build. In these videos you can see the challenges that I encountered during the build, the mistakes that I made, and I also share a couple of tips and tricks for building. After the build is complete, I will finish with a video where I will share my experiences using the printer. In this video I will show you the extruder assembly. Alright, I had a short break and ready to continue. I have just assembled the x-axis, the z-axis and the y-axis. There's one thing I needed to change up a bit. Again, something that I could have prevented if I looked at the manual just a bit better. I had this plate on backwards, so I flipped it over. So be sure that if you're assembling your own, make sure that the flat side is pointed towards the front of the printer. So with that said, I'm going to continue making the E-axis, or the extruder part, extruder and hot end. So we have a couple of parts here with this idler assembly. This is the idler for the extruder. And now I can move over to the filament sensor. This printer has a sensor that stops the printer as soon as the filament runs out or if it gets jammed. So for that I need 2 nuts, a screw, the sensor and the main frame. There are 2 nuts that I have to insert. Let's see how it goes this time. If it's a bit easier to insert. Oh, that's really simple. I was trying to say, let's see how easy it is to insert them. And the answer is really simple. At least on the other side. So I think it's likely to assume that the printers at Prusa are set up a bit different. So that's causing the one print to be more difficult to use and to insert screws in and nuts compared to the other one. So the sensor has to be installed on the top. That is here. And with an M3 screw I can secure it in place. Where do I have my... oh, here. The goal here is not to over fasten it, it just has to be held in place. I think I'm going to remove a little bit of the print here. Because it's preventing me to square it up nicely. That should do it. Oh, the other way around. Let's see if that fixes it. Yeah, that's the solution. I saw on the end that the connector was skewed, was at an angle towards the rest of the part, and that's not what we want. Almost there. And there it is. Cool. Now we can move over to the idler pulley. I'm going to need one long M3 screw. I think this is the one. Just check it. Full length. Yeah, this one. And 2 washers. Okay. And these washers have to be put on either side of the idler, just to make it move a bit smoother. And that's it for that. The next step is to install the extruder motor, and I assume that the other side of the screw has to be threaded in there. But first I need to install that extruder gear on it. Double check the orientation. Oh. These screws thread into the motor. It's a I just punctured my finger with. Yeah. Alright, now we can install the motor on it. And I need to check that the wires are pointed downwards. going to hold on to this one just for now. Let's move over to the next step. Oh, alignment. Need to pick up a piece of filament. Back. Oh. So I can check the alignment of the wheels. Alright, as you can see here, it's not correctly aligned right now. I put the filament through the hole and it's not lining up with the pulley. So I now have to turn it so I can access the little screw and move it over on there until it matches. That's more like it. And secured. Now we need the longer screws. M340. You need 2 springs. These have to be threaded through here. Yep. That does not make sense. Probably forgot something again. Probably a couple of slots. Yeah, there they are. Didn't insert these little square nuts. Alright, that one is in. And the other one next. Right, that makes more sense. So on to the next step, and this is a mounting point for the extruder body. So these are aligned. Now I have to prepare the extruder cover, this part. Again I have to insert a couple of nuts in the body. I'm going to use the screw, makes it easier to align the nut while pressing it in. So, let's set this aside. Right, that's in. Right, I got the nuts in the holes, so now I can insert the hot end. I have to make sure that the PTFE tube fits properly. Just carefully maneuvering it in place. So that's it. It is aligned. I am surprised how close these printed parts are to the heater. I'm sure it will work fine, but it's a bit counterintuitive to do it like this. Alright, the duct is there. Be sure that I do not pinch any cables. Double checking. Alright, it's all a go. Okay, this looks nice and correct this time. No mistakes this time. Yeah, that's all right. Onto the fans. M3 and by 18. I'm just double checking the size of the screws. Yep, this one is the correct size. Yep. Now we can fasten the part cooling fan and the extruder fan, the Noctua fan. Really excited that we are using the Noctua fans now. It's really quiet and perform really well. So let's see. Need to get the cable in this groove, motor cable. Then this fan can be installed on top of here. And that fan is installed. Onto the parts cooling fan. That one has to be installed on this side, facing downwards. There's a little hook where this cable can be routed through. Alright, there are a couple of things that I need to install now. I'll first put this one here. Now, induction sensor. Carefully put in there. Screw it in place with this bolt and nut. Let's look if there is a specific distance. Not at the moment. It will be further adjusted later on. With a little loop. Underneath it. It can now also be routed through the same channel. Yep, that's it. We're making some nice progress here. It can now I have to install it on the printer itself. 40, a 30, and an 18mm screw. Yep. And these cables have to be routed on either side according to the instructions in the manual. And it's pretty obvious how they want it. Alright, let's make sure this doesn't pinch the cables anywhere. I'm going to turn it around a bit so you guys can see it as well. I'm routing the cable through the little channels in here. It's really easy to damage these small wires, so you have to be careful here not to do so. Right, that's it. This is the last screw that has to be threaded all the way into the motor. Let's double check the cables. Yeah, they're fine. In order to access it, I had to lower this Z-axis just a bit. Let's move over to this side of the table. You guys can see it a bit better this way. Almost there. Now the other side. That's in. And I see that the next step is the X-carriage-back. And I need one nut, one cable holder, yeah, one M310, and M340. Oh, there it is. Yep. So I need those to get this assembled. I'm going to use this screw to get this nut pulled back into this slot. Otherwise it would almost be impossible to press it in there. And carefully, there it is. Yep, that worked. And I'm going to use this nut that I just inserted to get the cable holder installed. Oops. Align it nicely. There it is. I need to turn it back around so I can see what I'm doing. And just lower it a bit further to get easier access. And now all these cables have to be routed through this hole and the filament sensor through this little slot. If I'm correct. Yeah. So first the other ones. Alright, those are in. Checking it. Yep, those are all that have to be routed through there. I can install this one up there. Carefully routing the cables. Really making sure that nothing is pinching. Would be really sad if something would be damaged now. Then we have to start all over again. All right, that's correct. That's coming together nicely in the printer. We already made some really nice progress. And a couple of things left to do. And then we can make our first prints tonight. The assembly does take a bit longer than I expected. Before I started, was a bit optimistic. I think I thought it would be possible to finish it in about 2 hours, But it's clear that that's not possible. But oh well, having it built in one afternoon is also so nice. It wasn't really smart of me. I told you guys that I had a clock behind me and that I was curious to check the progress and how long it would take. But I totally forgot to check what time it was when I started the build. But I will get back to that when I review the footage. Is this one? Oh, this one. And the last screw for this. That hole is blocked a bit. Yeah, that fixes it. In some cases these holes are on places where they used support material, and sometimes a bit of the support material for the printing itself is left behind, and that's what's causing this. Just checking the movement. All right. I think I skewered it a bit when I was turning it down. Just moving up again so I can check the alignment. Yeah, it was out of alignment a bit. Yeah. Alright, the next step. Now we're almost done for this part. Have to use a bit of nylon filament. Let's see if I have something to cut on here. Cut that at an angle. It's in. There was a little hole that I needed to push it in. I need a longer one. So a little bit of cable management and getting it cleaned up. With a couple of tie rips, I can secure it in place. 3 to be exact. Yep. I just made it a bit shorter, so it's a bit easier to get it snugged in nicely. Otherwise it would constantly put pressure on the cables with a little point, and that's really not necessary. All right. All right, on to the next step. We're making some nice progress, so shouldn't be too long before I can make my first print. Let's hope so. Let's turn it over. Next step is to install the shroud fan nozzle. For that I have to slightly loosen the screws of the front fan, of the part cooling fan, so I can slide it over. Alright, that one screws right into the plastic. No, not required. Right, looks good. Now I can tighten these two screws again, and that step finished. Oh, nice. I'm already on the LCD assembly.